Okay, so it's now October 16th, 2020. So I'm just taking some stuff down. This is the tang. You remember that back in the older videos, right? I'm going to buy some more, people. This is long-term food storage. Can last a long, long, long time. Every now and then, Andre likes his noodles, so I don't have that many here. But anyway, these things are, that's another thing you should stock up on, your seaweed. Just general seaweed. I wouldn't recommend buying these as I would just straight up seaweed. Okay? Now that's old seaweed. But anyway, because of the iodine, right? So I just took some of those things and stuck them in a jar, and it's just much more handier for me to do it that way in terms of taking it and putting it in soup or whatever I'm going to do. But I am definitely going to buy some more tang, seaweed, obviously flour, lard. There was something else, a synonym. I want to buy some synonym. The only thing is you can't buy this stuff in bulk anymore because, again, our governments are screwing around with us, right? Making poor people poor, you know, bridging that gap between the two societies, people. Bridging the gap, making it wider between the two societies, people. Right? So I don't know how many packs of synonym I'm going to have to pay versus buying it in bulk like the good old days, which was more cost effective. But besides that point, I do plan on buying some more synonym. These are going down, you know. Andre likes popcorn, so I'll probably buy a couple, 2-3 more of these. Now, this is not necessarily a superfood like maple syrup or honey or anything like that, but something like this can stay in long-term storage for a very long time. And, you know, in times of discord, discomfort, you know, blah. It could be turned into a comfort food, just straight up popcorn with butter and salt. Or if you don't have butter, I guess salt. Or you could do, well, yeah, I was going to say caramel popcorn, but you'd need butter for that. But let's just hope it doesn't get to that point, okay? Where there's no butter, of all things. Here's the apple that I just made. You can see that it's darker. It's darker than the jars that I made with the organic apples, okay? And it's not as tasty as the organic apples. However, this is done. Here's some apple peel syrup that I made from those types of apples, the organic ones from the tree, in 2018. Now, this one, when I canned it, you know, obviously I didn't cook it enough. You can see it's quite runny in there. So in this situation, before I throw it out, right, I would just open it up, put it in a small pot, cook it down a bit more, and maybe add a bit more sugar to thicken it up. Because at the end of the day, if you notice the color, where do you think the color came from? Because that was apple peels that I boiled after I peeled, obviously, the good parts of apples, right? No, you know. And then I took that apple peel, and because it was organic, people, you don't get that wax taste and all those other pesticides, and God knows what they're spraying on these apples, right? I would never do this with a store-bought apple because of the wax. Boil up a pot full of apple peels from apples that you buy in a grocery store, and it's going to come out tasting like wax. Do it from an organic tree, and it won't taste like wax, okay? The only thing I didn't do is cook it long enough and probably didn't add enough sugar. Well, I didn't cook it long enough. That was the main thing. Either or, the thing is, it's sealed, right? So before I throw that out, I just, you know, these ones were underneath my bed in my room. I'm just moving some of the stuff out of my room, right? So these ones are going down. I still have a few more in one of these trays, which I'll bring out and add in a few other things, and then take them down, right? And put them someplace where, you know, they're not, like, up in the mix. So now I'm going to take down, and then, of course, we've got our lovely, lovely grape juice, right? Those are going down. It looks like somebody got out and scooped up on those grapes because they pulled down a lot of the grapevines to get to them. I noticed that there's a few high up, really high up in the tree, and there's not that many. So whether my son gets them for me in the next couple of days or not, I'm not too worried about it because basically, I got a couple that I did find. Where are they? I don't know where they are. They're in here somewhere. Yeah, these ones. Right? There was just a couple left. Now, mind you, I didn't scour through everything, but I tasted it, and I swear they taste different now. Well, maybe because it was raining when I went out there. So, whatever I've got left for grapes isn't very much. And if I'm going to get them, I should get them now. So my biggest concern is grabbing a few more, what I can find, even if it's just 2 hanging off the vine, and gathering up the seeds and not dehydrating these ones and just letting them air dry so that they remain fertile. I want fertile grape seeds. So that's what's happening with these ones. And then I'll mash up the little pulp and I'll give it to Amari or something. Right? Just like with the tomato seeds. Right? Because we don't know. Like, seriously, people, we don't know what's going to happen. We're not being governed by human beings. We're being governed by a computer program that's kind of like a virus that's taken over all parliament buildings pretty much around the world, right? And the leading politicians within these jurisdictions where this artificial intelligence is running through the parliaments, they've either been cloned and been replaced, and the original is dead, or they're locked away in some maybe Catholic dungeon, right? You know what I'm saying? Being tortured as their clone or their hologram or whatever, because whatever you see, you know what they say, believe half of what you, what is it? Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear, is there believe half of what you hear and none of what you see? I think we're at that stage when it comes to the internet and looking at these politicians with their spiels trying to get elected through fraud, people. Fraud. This is major fraud all across the freaking world going on right now. So, you know, now the thing about tomatoes, if you're worried about finding tomato seeds, here's a little trick that you can do while you still can, assuming that you're not getting a genetically modified tomato, but you can actually go into a grocery store, I've tried it and it works, and buy yourself a plain old hothouse tomato or some kind of tomato. Preferably try and get into your little food stores. Try and stay away from those major supermarkets, like the big ones, like the Walmarts and those kind of places, because, you know, they're coming in with that irradiated, waxed down, ozoned, mass-produced, cut out the little guy, cut out the middleman, so, you know, they can all party hardy after they basically monopolized everything. But, you know, look for some tomatoes and just salvage those seeds. Chances are they'll grow. And you just have them on hand, and, you know, let them, what you do, you just take them out with a knife, right? Rinse them off. It's best to rinse them off in a sieve, right? Spread them out on a plate, leave them in the air for 1 or 2 days, really not that much, and then put them in paper, not plastic, okay? This is an old envelope I cut up, and just kind of whatever, put them in there, right? They're in there now, and then just let them air dry for another day or so, and seal them up, and put them someplace where it's nice and dry and dark, and you have them. Even if it just means growing a few tomatoes in a planter pot, okay? Little things like that, I don't know. Is it going to make a great difference in the great grand scheme of destruction? I don't think so, but at least you know that if you had to, you had the seeds to grow the tomato. Hold on a minute. Okay, so, needless to say, I'm looking for canned green tomatoes from back in the day. Do you think I can find them? I don't know where I put them. This is why it's important that you write this stuff down as to where you may store things. I can find relish that was made with green tomatoes. I'm pretty sure. Either that or cucumbers or zucchini, one or the other. Right? But I can't find green tomatoes. I know I have them. I just have to look around. So anyway, they don't change color, right? They might get a little lighter, but depending on you want to put it in a cool, dark place, right? That's why Auntie ShaMay's room is perfect, because I blocked off the vent. There's a fridge in there. Leave the window cracked open. Everything's facing pretty much on the north wall. Lights usually off, doors closed. So it's like perfect for the most part. Lucky me, I still have jars. I have 3 cases of quart-sized jars. And then I've got those little jars that I use if I'm freezing or whatever for Amari's food as I'm cooking. And then of course I still got miscellaneous jars around the house. And then as I use products, the jars come back to me. And remember, I showed you, instead of using a can opener, pop them up from underneath. Try not to break the rim. And if you have to, worst case scenario, reuse your lids because you can't find any. Right. So, I'll be back. Hold on.
On Saturday, the weather is looking good for tomorrow. It's looking like it's just gonna be cloudy. Not calling for a lot of rain. So, if you're coming, if you're in the Lower Mainland, if you're coming to the rally, guys, join the convoy. Please.
my God, I just went through this and I wasn't even recording it. Anyway, this is my opinion on Ice Cube, since he's on the internet and YouTube wanting to make contracts with the black people in the United States of America. Okay, and he's doing some interview with some guy, which I was just showing you, him sticking out his fucking tongue, blowing up his bottom lip. Anyway, then I went on to explain what's going on in the background of Ice Cube's apartment here, and the first thing I noticed was, that's awfully strange. If you look at it, you can see the one eye, big and black, where this one, right, and as the video, you know, moves along, you know how things change. So, of course, this is changing, right? This isn't here changing, right? This gets clearer. And so, anyway, I mean, look at that. And then here he's got himself, you can see, right? In this particular picture, you can actually see his eye is open, right, where other ones are a little blurred, so it looks like it might be closed. But in this particular frame, his eye is open, and he's got himself in a crown, right? But what I find interesting is this picture, because clearly this is white. To me, it makes me think of children, because the picture is childish, if you want to look at it. However, it doesn't have a very nice undertone around it, okay? Now, at one point, I'm thinking this is a boy. I mean, clearly, this is a body of a child, because this here is the body of an adult. Okay, here's a leg. Here's a leg. You can actually see the shoe. But of course, it's childlike, so you don't really notice it outside of maybe your subconscious. Here's some body that's obviously much smaller than this individual, which makes you think it's a child. And just by the way it's dressed, right? Here's a leg, you can see. Here is another leg, right? Here is the top of the head. You can obviously see the face is white, right? It's odd that he should have this picture in the background talking on about reparations for black people. Okay. So anyway, I at first thought this was a little boy, but it could be a little girl when you look at it, because the hair seems to go down. This one here, you can see it. Here you can see in here, right? This one makes me think of a little girl. This one, when it's not as clear as this one, right? Because, you know, through internet it changes, right? But here you can see the beginning of an arm, right? You can see the little outfit. Looks like a little skirt to me, where that one looks like maybe more like shorts. But you can see kind of like the arm reaching out. The arm. You can see the hair. You can see hair. You can tell that the face is white, right? Here's another leg. Here's another leg. So this child, who is obviously much smaller than the adult, is hanging on, right? That's how I interpret this picture, people. Tell me where I'm wrong. Right? You can see the foot. You can even see the foot. If I blow it up, you'll see it better. Right? This one over here, I'm not too sure about, other than this is a head, this is a head, this is a head, and there's something going on down here. Okay? Like, for example, we'll just take number, we'll go to open. It's just on my desktop. Where am I? No, they're not all coming up. What's going on? What am I doing? Hold on a minute. Okay, so I brought it up on Paint. See? Just by the way the hairline is, this is what makes me think this is a boy. And also, too, it looks like more like shorts versus a skirt. Right? Now, this is in a different frame than what we were looking at prior to. Like, for example, I'll just bring it back up. I haven't, what did you call it? I haven't saved this one, or at least I don't think I have. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I'm already disgusted, people. Okay? Seriously. Just another Alex Jones predictive programming. That's all it is. That takes advantage of human beings. Okay. I think it's very inappropriate to be asking for reparations as you have small children. Clearly, those look like children. One is a boy, one is a girl. The hair goes down as if it was a girl. The hairline is cut off as if it was a boy. You can see the legs. Here's one. There's another one. Here's one. There's another one. In this particular picture, you can almost begin to see the shoulders and the arms. Right? Okay? Clearly you can see that this is a body, right, with a belly on it, or whatever, leg, with a shoe, another shoe, but of course it's rudimentary, because if it was done in fine detail, it would be very noticeable at what you're looking at. Right? And then this morbid thing, I mean, what does that tell you right there? Look at this thing. This is his backdrop, people. Okay? Okay, people, so this is October 18th, 2020. It doesn't even feel like October 18th, honest to God. Anyway, we're going to get on with the grape seed extract. Okay, this is the peels from me pinching, all right, and doing it that way, and separating the seeds at the same time. You've seen that video. And then in the dehydrator, I've got them where they're merged. They recommend, well, from what I've read, if you want to use, make grape seed extract for yourself, because the seeds are edible, you dehydrate them separately, okay? And then after they're dehydrated separately, then you mix them together, and you can put them into those capsules that you can buy from health food stores. Or you can just take some, save yourself the money, you know, half a teaspoon or whatever it is, and put it in your cereal in your smoothies if you drink them, that kind of stuff, right? Yogurt, nuts, and something to mask maybe the taste. We don't know what it tastes like. I'll let you know, but you could mix in sugar. Like I have brown sugar, Punjabi sugar here, that's quite crystallized in terms of it's large, right? Because of the types of foods that they cook. So maybe I might do that because I'm not going to go as far as buying capsules. I'm just unless of course I'm in the neighborhood and they're not that expensive, I might wander in. I do want vanilla beans. So, you know, whether I order vanilla beans online or whether I go to the health food store over here, where I did a little event at one point in the past with my kids. ShaMay was working that day in that little restaurant, right? But anyway, and then in the sign of the times, look what I got here. Do you know what that is? That's actually wheat. Somehow, every now and then I get wheat growing in my yard. So this, you know, I managed to save these ones. So if I get next door going a little better, maybe I might make a little patch of wheat, just for the sake of it. Just throw the seeds in there and they'll just grow and get more, right? And then you can take a mill and you can grind it and then you have fresh wheat. My landlord knows where to buy big bags of wheat. So if I get chickens, he'll go off and buy me some wheat, which, you know, I have still in the house, and I put in soups every now and then. Okay, so the thing is, though, people, it's kind of hard to stay on this bandwagon with these videos, even though I don't get a lot of views. That's not the issue, right? I mean, there's different reasons for that, right? But, you know, when you're having to worry about your children, whether they're little or whether they're big, on a constant level, and you've already had children die because of the gang stalking that goes on in the community from different sectors, groups, right, that are all interconnected with each other for the purpose to harvest organs illegally and capitalize off of laundering that money through various agencies that is basically covered up by our public union sector, you know. So what I'm thinking and feeling and going through almost every day isn't a fucking joke, okay? First of all, it isn't a fucking joke. So in light of that, it is hard to get back up on that YouTube street and do videos about wheat growing in your yard or how to make grape extract if you happen to have access to organic grapes. I wouldn't recommend them from grapes being bought in a grocery store because it would be the same thing like those apples, right? You see this apple here? This came from the store. You try and cook up that apple peel to make anything with it, and it's going to come out tasting like wax, no matter how much you scrub. So why even waste the time? And we already know that whatever they're doing to these apples, in terms of how they get them ready for the market so that you know, you don't get sick from E. coli or whatever it is that you can get from an apple, right? In the old days, they used to just wash them, you know, which was good, right? But it wasn't perfect in terms of killing everything that was on an apple, including what's on the inside. Well, this zoning stuff that they do now, they come in with the big crates and they run them through these machines. They say ozoning is safe. However, ozoning is a gas that permeates the whole crate right into the middle, up and down, and it goes past the skin, people. It can go into the fiber of the fruit. And they do that because they're trying to say that they're trying to protect you, right, in terms of from getting sick. Well, no, I don't necessarily think so. I think it's big corporation coming in with their new technologies, establishing monopolies for themselves as they remove the middle guys and the little guys from manufacturing food that is nutritional, so that at the end of the day, because it is a corporation looking for profit, you know, their priority in terms of making this, I wasn't going to talk about this, but their priority in making this nutritional isn't at the top of the list, right? And that's why the last time I made a batch, I already took them downstairs, right, of that apple with the grapes, I noticed a huge difference between the store-bought apples, and it has nothing to do with the store that sold me those apples. It has to do with whoever shipped them to the store and how they process them. Not to mention what they spray them with after the fact of going through those big vats to be ozoned to the point where it permeates the skin and changes the inside of the apple, even though they tell you it doesn't, which is not true. Because when you work with a real apple tree, a whole tree, for like 3 years or whatever, is it 4 years, however long I've been mucking with this apple tree, right? And you do what I did this year with those grapes and the raspberries and the blueberries and the strawberries, right? You know, you can mix them in with pineapple. You really do notice a difference when a foreign apple comes in that came from God knows where and has been processed and who knows how, what or how, right? So anyway, April, when I send out your stuff, I got another little box here. I'm not sure what box I'm going to use. I don't know if this box will work. I don't think the book will fit in this box. Hold on. I've been working outside. Yesterday I was soaking wet. Like again, completely soaking wet. Can you hear it in my voice? My voice is tired, right? Because I was in the back spraying things down. Washing. By the time I came in, you could bring out my clothes. Yep. Not today, though. I'll go back out, I don't know. Tomorrow or Tuesday, anyway. Is this your book? It's 19... Yeah. April, here it is, right here. Okay? We did a video on that. This little box came in for Amari. Let's see if this little book fits in. Because if this little book fits nicely into this box, then I'm packing up your jars. I'm giving you some beans so that you can plant them in a planter pot. Or if you got some dirt, just, you know, make sure to get a bit of sun. Make sure you water them. And you'll get beautiful flowers, right? The butterflies will come. The hummingbirds will come. And then by the time they grow, you'll have beans that produce high yield. And you save some of those beans for the next season. And before you know it, you'll have so many beans, you'll be giving beans to your friends. That's what will happen. Right? We'll have a bean fest. So let's see if this book... I don't think this book is going to fit. Fuck. No, look at that. Oh my God. Look at that. It didn't work. I'm off like a half an inch. Not even a half an inch. Oh. Not even a half an inch. That's almost a quarter inch. Quarter inch too small, this box. That's not going to work. I'm trying to find something that's not too big, right? Anyway, I'll keep looking. And then, you know, it's all philosophical here, right? You know? Those are all fertile, like fertile myrtle out in the back of that blackberry bush, right? These are all fertile apple seeds. You can grow, I don't know, how many apples in their trees do you think? 1,000? 500? 500 apple trees. You could grow 500 apple trees just with this bag alone. Right? Something people don't think about. I don't know if you can grow an apple tree from this apple, never mind have it grow and reproduce itself to grow apples. Because don't forget, a lot of this stuff that they're selling us has been diced and spliced like human beings have been lately with that CRISPR technology, where it becomes infertile or sterile, or, you know, you might get a tree, but it will never, ever, ever, ever produce an apple because it's just the way it was genetically modified. Whereas these ones, you will get apples because they have not been genetically modified in the least little bit. The thing about apples, though, is they like to cross-pollinate with each other. And that's another reason why it's so upsetting for me that all these property developers that are coming out here into British Columbia, Canada, from all these different countries, they're just cutting down all the nut-bearing trees, all the fruit-bearing trees. They're basically just wiping them out. So if you get a lone apple tree with more and more apple trees in the neighborhood being wiped out, pretty soon it's not going to have anything to cross-pollinate with. Okay? That's just goes in with the wind, right? So you have to have a couple of apple trees. But even one apple tree is better than no apple tree. So this is just basically a little school project, April. I'm going to just send you, I don't know, 5 or 10 little apple seeds, 15 maybe. And you can just, on your windowsill, for the fun of it, take you back to elementary school in kindergarten. And you can, I'll do a little video how to sprout apple seeds. And then once they sprout, you put them in a little thing, right? Put them on your windowsill. You can sprout this in the wintertime. So when these come, you can do them pretty much ASAP. And then by spring, right, you can condition them for outside when it warms up a bit. And then you can put them in a bigger planter pot. And yeah, you can have them on your porch or just in the yard. They will live quite nicely in a planter pot, right? And when they get to a certain height, they can even produce apples in a planter pot. Just remember that. It doesn't have to be in the ground. So even if you don't have a yard like me, this is what I'm trying to say. Even if you don't have a yard like me, don't think that you can't have an apple tree on your doorstep producing apples in 10 years from now from these apple seeds that I'm going to send you in the next little while, which is like, I'm like looking around, right? I'm just doing some inside stuff today, clearing off my counters. Oh yeah, that's it for grapes. No more grapes. I went out to the grapevine to go look. There's a few really, really high that I may or may not ask my son to get down, assuming that they're still up there because it's been kind of raining, right? But everything else that was lower down, somebody came and took them, which is, it is what it is, right? They were pulling down the vines, I could see. They were pulling them down, right? So the only ones that are remaining are like really, really, really high. And right now, there's no desperation for me to go get them. So I basically started to put all my pots away. However, do you see that? Now, this is the same thing, like this. These are strictly 100% organic. So I'm going to squeeze these out, and I've got actually some in my fridge, not a lot, but some that didn't make it. And I'm going to squeeze out some of those, and then I'll send you some of these seeds too, just for the fun of it, right? And maybe you can't have a grapevine, but maybe you know somebody that can. And you just start them in a little planter pot in the spring, right? They'll catch. They prefer dirt, right? So, they like to climb. I'll warn you now, though, it can take, oh, God. Oh, I don't know. When I moved in, we didn't have grapes. I didn't have no grapes for the first 5 years, whatever it was. And then when the Koreans were getting ready to move out, I think in 2016, right? Because that's when all that junk was coming in from next door, and then I was getting all that flack because he was giving me paint and windows and wood and just a lot of home bricks. That's where I got a lot of my bricks from, was when the Koreans moved out. And I remember the first year the grapes came in, and he was like 94 years old, or 92 or something, and his wife is almost as old as him. And anyway, they were vegetarians, and they just ate the things that basically grew in their yard. And so anyway, what was I saying? He told me that when the grapes came, when they sprang out of nowhere, right? The first year maybe nothing, one or two, just a few, right? And then all of a sudden it was like so many to count. They harvest all of them in one big swoop, right? And then when they moved, they actually came back the next year and helped themselves to all of them, even though they didn't own the house anymore, right? I haven't seen them since, but it does take several years before these things really produce. But boy, oh boy, once they start producing, right? And then that's where you can, like, think about, I mean, I'm not saying you can't use store-bought grapes to make grape extract, but if I had to choose, right, obviously I'd choose this kind of grape. Because I don't want you to think that you can't do it, right? So I'm just saying, just keep in mind that the way they process this stuff isn't the same as if it comes in blemish from a real tree or a real grapevine, right? So that's what you're going to do, April. You're going to plant some little plants, okay? And feel like a kid again, right? You can re-gift them. Once you got them growing, you can give them to somebody as a present. You can say, I grew that all by myself, and those seeds came from British Columbia, Canada. Mm-hmm. Okay? I'm not giving you no wheat seeds, though. Those I'm going to see if I can start a little patch over there across, right? So anyway, yeah, it's really hard for me to pretend, in terms of, okay, let's talk about grapeseed extract, this, that, blah. And in the back of my mind, I feel like I'm pretending about my trying to be, I guess you can say, positive, when in fact, we know that my children and grandchildren are being stalked, basically, with the intent to harm, injure, and to capitalize off the death of another one of my daughters. Okay? That's how I feel about it. So why would I want to get up and be happy on YouTube? I don't. But then I also don't want to, wallow, right? I don't want to wallow and stay silent and be that abused person and wait for the inevitable to happen, right? So I'm going to start with this. I'm going to grind up this first, those ones, put them in a bowl. Then I'll grind up these, put them in the bowl, and then I'm going to show you what we get, and then we're going to mix them together, and then I'm going to take a spoon, and I'm going to taste it. That's what I'm going to do. Okay? Hold on. Okay, so I guess we're featuring grapeseed extract on this video, right? We have to think about, one, it's fiber, and two, guess who I got? I got a little lamb with me today. Nana's watching you. Your mommy and daddy are having a date. Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
I know they are. Anyway, grapeseed will break your teeth.
Really?
Oh yeah. That's why I am doing this. Because if you chew it, it's like worse than a rock when they are dehydrated. I mean, obviously, when they're not dehydrated, they're fine. But these ones are dehydrated, and they're like little rocks. So, as you can see what I'm doing here, I'm sifting this out. Right? And these things actually got really hot as I was trying to grind them up in this old school blender. So before I pack them up, after I'm done doing what I'm doing, I'll probably let them air dry and just move them around like this a little bit, right? Because you don't want mold growing in because it's warm, eh? Because this, friction, right? It creates heat, right? Well, that's what's happening. And when you get heat, you get moisture. So you want to make sure before you jar anything, after you're done doing whatever you're doing, you let it cool down and, just kind of maybe dry out a little bit, right? Let me taste this. This is straight up, do you see? This is straight up grapeseed, organic. Well, couldn't you hear it? Doesn't it sound like you're chewing rocks? That's why I guess they recommend. Oh my God. Can you hear it from over there? You can hear it from over there, right? That's like 6 feet, 6 feet away.
Actually, 7 feet.
No, maybe 5 or 6. Oh my God. This is why they recommend that you put it in a capsule. And you take capsules.
Oh my God.
Now this is the... I don't know. I wonder what it would take for it to soften up if you were to hydrate it with water or
How hard is it?
Well, you heard me crunching, and that's grinded up, and it's still making that noise. Can you hear?
Yeah.
And these are like teeny weeny little pieces.
Right.
Now we've got this one. This is the skin that has not been cooked. It was raw when I dehydrated it, so more than likely this will be a little sour. Actually, this is really good. You could try it. You could put it in yogurt.
Tastes like grape sauce.
It's kind of sweet. It's more sweet than I expected. I was
Yeah, but
expecting
it
it
tastes
to be.
like grape sauce.
Well, I don't know about that because I'm still chewing these things. I'm tasting these.
Really?
These are stronger
Let me
than
taste.
this. This is actually, considering everything, this is sweet. Now, there could be a reason why it's sweeter because some of the ones that I was dehydrating, I didn't squeeze out. There was a couple batches where I didn't squeeze out the peels into the juice. I just, because I was tired, right? So when they went into the dehydrator, they were a little more juicier, I guess you could say, than the ones that I did squeeze out. And because of the juiciness, obviously more sugar, right? In terms of the juice and the natural sugars. So I think that's what we're getting here, right?
No.
I haven't gotten to the two of them together with the rind cooked and the seed yet, because I'm still trying to deal with these seeds, which you heard it for yourself, right? Like, I still got it in my mouth.
Yeah, I actually spit mine out. It tastes.
Right.
I can still hear it.
I know, and you're way over there, and that's just a little grain of this stuff. So maybe, because I got more to grind up, right? And I've got a few more still in my dehydrator that are separate. So maybe in this case, like this by itself,
Tastes like really good.
like it's soft, right? It will dissolve.
And no crunching.
No, very little crunching. I mean, there may be the odd seed in there, but other than that. And then, if you wanted to, and I might do this, I don't know if I'm going to combine them together. I don't know, because I'm thinking I wouldn't mind just using that for, what is in this jar here? This sugar crystallized. What I want is on the bottom. Oh my. But here's something. Here's an idea. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. Hold on.
Brown sugar?
Yeah. That would work out really good. I'd have to pull out.
Brown sugar right there.
I know, no. I want this specific kind.
Hey.
I want the Punjabi one. I don't
Oh,
know
yeah,
if you
no.
can see that. It's not the one that's on top, because that's already... I have to put an apple peel in there to soften it up. But the one on the bottom, it's bigger. Bigger crystals, right? And, not this one, but the one down here. Okay? You could mix that up
With this?
with this. I mean, you could use this one too if you wanted to, right? I might. But do you see those raisins there? Those are raisins from last year that I dehydrated.
Yeah, and they're actually homemade.
Yeah, those are organic, actually homemade. So I think what I'm going to try to do, instead of, and these ones were the seedless ones. These ones were the little ones that first came in. Okay, this is how I'm going to do it. Because I wouldn't mind using this in Amari's foods because there's lots of nutrients in this. This, I cannot. Right?
Because it's so crunchy.
They're just, yeah, they're too crunchy. Right? And I got adult teeth. What'd you do? Drop that on your toe? Oh, hold on a minute. Okay. Boy, it's taking all day. So this is grape peel uncooked. Half squeezed, half not. After I pinched out the inside and the seeds. And it's fairly sweet considering all things said. And it's palatable because it's not crunchy. Unlike this stuff that can seriously break your teeth. Right? Now this one, I ran through a sieve, so it's not so bad. But we already know what's going to happen if I put that in my mouth. This is the stuff that was cooked and then squeezed out. Right? Same problem. Right? I mean, it's not going to kill you. You're not eating sand. You're not eating grit. You're eating grape seeds. The point is, you know, it's not something. I think this is why they recommend you put it in capsules. Right? Now, I'm going to try it. Just to see what happens. Because don't forget, these are dehydrated. So if you rehydrate them before you use them, you know, I don't know. We'd have to see. So I'm going to put this one in a little bit of water in a small bowl and just let it sit for an hour or so. See what happens. Same thing with this one. Because I'm not going to combine this one unless I was putting them in capsules because it would be impossible. It's not practical to be, I mean, maybe once in a blue moon, but for what I want to use this for, no. Right? Because this, I could sprinkle on food. Okay? You're just not getting as much nutrients. Now, and I could combine the two and soften them together if I wanted to. Now, these raisins are 2 years old. They're from the grapevine from last year. This was before the grapevine. Oh, anyway, I dehydrated them. I just opened the jar now. I never did vacuum seal it. I got a thing from Amazon, but it doesn't have its parts, so I don't know. Plus, they sent me the wrong size. And I just haven't bothered to, you know, you can apparently vacuum seal jars. Now, these ones are the little seedless grapes that are kind of sour. My landlady doesn't like them because they're, you know, and they're small, but they're seedless. So I have like 6 or 7 of these jars, like this around in the basement in Auntie ShaMay's room. Plus, I have still, after all this time, in the other freezer, they should be there, some of them frozen. But as you hear me chomping away on these grapes, they're actually not that bad, considering how much grapes cost. And these things are, like this, it's sweet. Like, I can taste the sugar. Right? And if it was real sour, like really sour, because when they're like fresh, they were kind of sour, and my landlady doesn't like them. I don't know what to do with them, so I just was dehydrating. Go into my videos, you'll see it. 2 years later, these are perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with them. As a matter of fact, they're really, really good. But to grind them up in the blender and mix them in with that powder, I'd have to dehydrate these for another day or two and make them really dry, and then grind them up, and then blend it in as a natural sweetener versus using brown sugar. But you could still add in a little bit of brown sugar after the fact. So being that I'm on this path, right, I mean, it might work out really good where next year I'll want to do the same thing. Okay, that's why I'm going the extra mile here. So I was going to put my dehydrator away because I live in a box, people. And, you know, when I start cooking and this and that and blah and blah and blah. But I think the smart thing would be to dehydrate this whole jar. Right? See if I can get it like if I had like blueberry, which I do have. Didn't I dehydrate some blueberry? I have dehydrated blueberry. I dehydrate my blueberry hard as a rock. They never spoil. They never lose their taste. Nothing. If you make them, you know, not like that. I bought some from the grocery store, dehydrated blueberries that weren't like crispy hard. And they didn't last in food storage at all. At all, people. If I opened up the blueberries that I did in 2011, oh my God, they are so, so good. Right. I didn't need dehydrated blueberries because I've got a few containers around the house. Andre, if I bring out the container, he'll eat the whole container within a week. Right? So anyway, I'm going to try and dehydrate these more crispy. And then this way, they'll go through my blender. And then I take that and I mix it in with this stuff. Right? And then in a few, you know, maybe for this, I have to taste it though, right? So I do the whole jar. The whole jar, why not? Or at least half. I can do half a jar, right? Because this is already kind of sweet, considering all things said. Because I'm pretty sure it's because some of those skins that I was dehydrating, I didn't squeeze out the juice. So there was a difference between the two batches, right? One was much more drier and crisper, where the other one, you could tell it had sugar on it because it dehydrates into the food, right? The natural sugars of your fruit, right? And just combining the two of them worked out really good that way. It's just, it could stand to be a little more sweeter for what it's being used for, right? And I mean, you could even sprinkle that on your what is that called? Your squash, as is. Because what do you put on squash? Butter and brown sugar, right? So maybe I should take half of this, put it in a nice big jar, put it away. Well, I could get all of that into the one big jar. I'd be better off just to use a quart-sized jar. Take this, right, and then put it away in long-term storage. Oh, I'm not sure what I want to do here, people. I mean, even if I was to go the route that I want to go, right, you see, whatever I do, something's going into storage, and I'm going to keep myself just a small jar out, right? Maybe half that size. And then if I need more, I go get more. Because I'm done with my counter space. I'm full. I have to remove things off my counter. Not add bigger jars, right? But the way I'm planning this with the raisins and the brown sugar, I mean, you could put it in yogurt because this is soft. There's nothing crunchy about this. Outside of, I didn't strain it. So, being that it was just skins, there might be a rogue seed in there. You know? And it only takes one bite. And then, whoa. So, technically, I should go out of my way for safety purposes, right? Because children, right, are biting into it. see what goes through, and then whatever's left, if I see a seed, definitely take it out. I'm not so concerned about the little ones, because so far it's been pretty good. Right? But next year, when I do this, because I will do it again, because I like that. As a matter of fact, it really doesn't even need any sugar in it. But I like sweet things. Right? But, you know, you don't want them looking for the sugar. You want to build it into it so that if, you know, they come and they take for themselves, sprinkle, it's already there. But once you add in these things, you're still not going to need much brown sugar outside of just giving it that tad bit of flavor. And you could put it in yogurt. You could put it in your cereals. You could put it in your bread. You could put it into your muffins. That's what Andre's idea was. You could bake it into your food, right? You could mix it in with mashed carrots or something like that. I mean, there's so many things that you could do. But the grape seed is a little different. This one is completely different. This one you'd have to cook with so that, you know, like, well, first of all, you want to see how it hydrates. So I'll put some in water and just see what it does. Right? As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to mix this into anything. I'm just going to put it in its own independent jar. And, you know, use it in, like, baking chicken in a roasting pan or something. So that it sits in the bottom of the pan for a long, long time, right? And leaches up the grease and the juices and everything as it releases its own vitamins into your meal. That would be much more reasonable outside of putting it into a capsule and taking it that way. Now, apparently some people are, what is it called? Allergic to grapes. I didn't know that. So before you go off and do this kind of stuff, make sure you're not allergic to them. I guess that would be consuming too much, right? And then this one, this is the one that was cooked, all squished together, right? So it blended together. Right? Let me taste it. I mean, first thing, you're going to hear it. It'll give you a freaking headache. So in this case, being that it's the same as this one, being that it's the same as this one, right? They're both the same. Put them together and learn to cook with it a different way, or put it in capsules, right? Because you have to remember, this is fiber, okay? And with the cost of food and everything, you know, and our foods ourselves are not as high in nutrients as they used to be. Like, this would be considered a superfood. Right? So now, that goes in its own jar. And it just so happens I don't have time to look around for jars. I'm just going to put them in here. And then what I need, I'm going to what is it called? Take it out then. And mix it in however. Like I'll leave a little bit out for in a small jar. And I'll work with that way. I'm just putting this in this jar for now because it's handy. Right? These are jars I have kicking around my house. I decided to let those old apples from 2014 go. I got into my food storage and one of them had popped. And then I was moving things around. The lid went down. I couldn't figure out, so I said to hell with it. I want the jars. The jars are more important to me now than apples from 2014 that have been sitting in a jar. Because anytime I look at them, all I do is think about Uncle John. Because I did that for Uncle John because he liked apples like that. Alright. I still have 2 jars down there. They're going in the compost. Well, this just makes more sense. Right? See, something like this I'd bake with chicken or any kind of meat, really. Wouldn't matter. It's grape. It can go with anything. Right? It will, all that, the only thing it's going to do is it's going to absorb the liquid and swell and make it like natural, what is that called? Like, you know, when you want to thicken something up. That's what's going to happen. And add nutrients and flavor to whatever it is that's at the bottom of your pan. Yeah, this needs a new jar. So we're looking at quart-sized jars. And what did my son buy me? I got 3 cases. And I got miscellaneous ones kicking around that I'm washing. As a matter of fact, here's one. Right here. I just have to switch jars around. So I'm doing good here. I would definitely do it again. So I guess that's what I'm going to be doing next year. Right? Right? Whoa. Yeah. See? There you go. Look at that. Isn't that nice? And there's a little bit left out for me to try it out. I'll just use one of those little jars. Like, where is it? Like a little jar right here. That's all I need out here for now. Because if I want more, I just go get it, and then eventually, when my counter's a little better, and maybe I get up into my cupboard or something and redo, I'll use more like this size jar, right? But for what it's worth, I've got one of these handy for now. And the next time I make chicken or something like that, which kind of makes me want to do now, I want to do it now. See, I don't have to soak it, because I know that once it's in the bottom of a roasting pan, right, in terms of just adding it in with your garlic or whatever you're putting in there, your onions, and, you know, you sprinkle it on top of things, right? You can sprinkle it, try it out on your squash, but before I do that one, I do this one. There, look at that. That's pretty cool. Hey? Kind of like the good old days when I used to do black walnut ink, right? This is the ink powder from those nuts that I came across with Andre. I think, honestly, I think they're a cross between an English walnut and a black walnut. I have to crack them open to make sure, because the way the trees were, right? There was 3 different kind of trees there, and one of the trees looked like a black walnut, although the walnut itself didn't come out looking like a black walnut. There's a difference, right? It kind of came out looking like a cross. Like this isn't. It's a cross between a black walnut and an English walnut. Because when I was looking at the nuts on the inside, it looked different than your standard English walnut, right? Now you see, these things can grow too, assuming that there's still nut in there. These are not been sprayed, nothing. So maybe I should send a couple to April in Massachusetts so that she can maybe try and grow a walnut tree yet. Right? That's the mission. I sent a whole whack of these to Brazil, people. That's how much I want the species to survive. Okay? Cost me $100. Anyway, he said he was going to go plant them up on the mountain. He had a little, you know, planetarium, whatever it's called. And I said, well, it's too hot for them to grow down there. He said, no, you'll take them up into the mountains. They're cold. When they're cold, that tells me that there's something inside. I haven't cracked them open yet. But when I husk them, I saved the husk. So that's ink powder, right? So anyway, okay. What else? Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to end the video. I'm going to keep this one short because I'm tired. You know, people busy, whatever, right? I mean, you can only go on so long about grapeseed extract, right? And I don't want to dwell on things outside of what's going on right now. So you see what I've done. I've taken half of this jar and I got them in a dehydrator. Now, the thing about this compared to a blueberry... Now, a blueberry, I can get them down right down to a crisp. Like I said, they store the best forever. And they retain their tastes, everything. You're not going wrong. As long as you seal your container that you have them in, they'll last forever. Obviously, grapes, raisins, grapes, they're doing really good. It's just, they're chewy. Now, is it because I didn't dehydrate them as long as I did the blueberries? Or is it because I'll never get them like the blueberries? I don't know until I let this run for a day or two. And I'm going to try and get them really, really crunchy. Because you have to remember, for something like that, for a Mari, you'd have to stand there and cut, make it really small. Smash, 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 smash. Right? You can cook them. Make rice pudding and stuff like that. That would be better. But if you want something quick and fast, no, it's not. No. So that's why I'm kind of doing it this way, because I'm hoping that I can get them nicely, enough to run them through my blender, so that I can just add it to this. So by the time I'm done this with the raisins, which probably won't take up that much space, and then a little bit of brown sugar, but I have to go get the kind that I want, right? I'm going to show you. And maybe I'll get it out before I stop this video and upload it. And then this way, it's all in one, right? So it will fill up, plus I'll leave myself out a half a pint. So, right? I could dehydrate those grapes and go get more, I suppose. Right, and make that more grapey, but I don't want, that's, I don't know. Honestly, I don't think these things are going to dry as crispy as I want them. No, I don't think so. I'd be very surprised if they do that. So here, let me go get this brown sugar so you can see what kind I'm talking about. Hold on. I don't know. It's down there. This is all hard. Obviously, you can see there's like 3 layers of different brown sugars. I want the one that's in the middle. Right? Because it's bigger crystals. And it won't be so sticky. Where these ones, they sticking together. Okay, so... See, I'm digging in a poured. Here you can see starting to change, right? There's more in there, right? Okay, so now listen to this. This is exactly what you want, right, in terms of the sugar. I bet it doesn't break your teeth. It dissolves. As fast as you put it in your mouth, it dissolves. But it's oh so good. So you'd only need a little bit of that, right? Mixed throughout this whole thing. And depending on how these raisins go, you'd mix them in there after you took them through a blender. And then that would be a great little sprinkle of something, right? You'd sprinkle on all kinds of things. And if the raisins don't do the job. You could do dehydrated blueberries that are like very, very dry, and then grind it up and mix it up. Okay, so who would have thought that you could do a whole video on grape seeds? Basically, I remembered I'm supposed to sift this, right? Because we don't want no big surprises when you chomp down on this. And in light of that, look what I sieved out. One grape seed. Look at that. Didn't even get blended up. So anyway, so I'm going through this, right? You have to remember, my eyes are bad. And I see another one. There's one right there. I need light. Oh, there is it. There it is. See? Look at that. So now that I got that, I'll just keep doing this. That's what I'm doing. Like that. And then I'm going to take this through the blender one more time. But before I do that, I'm looking for any seeds in here. Like I just found 2 of them. There's another. There's another. So my eyes aren't that bad. I can barely see it, but they're there. Right. Now those are whole ones. So basically what's going to happen next year is, now that I know, see, that's the thing, now that I know, before I dehydrate them, I'm going to go through the skins and I'm going to double check for seeds. And then I won't have this problem. I won't have to backtrack. Right? I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect. I've never made grape extract, and honestly, I haven't even made grape extract. I've made something else. We don't have a name for what I made. Anyway, I have to have a light for this. And then once I'm finished taking out, see, I got like 5 of them in there already. There's probably 1 or 2 more yet. I just don't see them. Then I'm going to grind it through the thing again, and I'm going to sift it again. Oh, I think I see one now. Slightly different color, right? Barely. It's a half of one. It's a half of one. I bet you that's one right. Oh, see? You gotta have patience. There it is, right there. Yeah. See? That right there. You don't want that. They're too hard. Unless, of course, you cook them. If you cook them, right? If you cook this stuff the way I said cook it, it'll work. It will soften up. If anything, it will add flavor. Right? Just don't put a lot, because it can be overwhelming, right? Because it is a seed. So, anyway. Okay, so that was the right thing to do. Right? You can see what's going on now. I'm at the end of my game with this, almost. Right? I'll run that through the blender, whatever's left here. You can see. Right? Double check it for any seeds. And then you can see what I got out so far. You can see that's a lot. But I know what to do next year. Right? Pay attention to that. Now it's just getting finer and finer and finer. Alright, let's just taste it. Well, you could make candy out of it if you wanted to at some point. So, now the thing about this stuff, okay, is sugar is a natural preservative. So even if it goes into long-term storage, it's not going to make much of a difference, other than it's going to help to preserve your food even more than it just sitting in a jar by itself. And see if that made a difference. Not bad. But before I put more brown sugar, I'd wait for the raisins. But you get the point, right? And then this one here, you put specifically for cooking, right? With liquid of some kind. Whether you put it in stews, at the bottom of your roasting pan when you're flavoring your meats, chicken and stuff like that, that will cook nice in there. So, other than that, I think this you could put it almost in anything you wanted to, really. I'll try and use some, right? In terms of cooking, like with bread or with muffins or stuff like that. So I'm going to put it back in a jar, and then I'm going to wait for the raisins to see what happens with the raisins, and if I can incorporate that amount of raisins into this, this is even going to be better. And I may add a bit more brown sugar, but now that I've been in this jar, see what happened was I went into my food storage area, and like I have brown sugars and coconut sugars and those types of things, right? And see this one. And some of the bags were whatever, right? But you see, the problem with this one though is it sticks together. I don't really like that, but it's okay. So I just threw them all into one. But this one here is almost like a coconut sugar. This one. It's really good. Like, really good. So if you mix it up like this, oh, that's so good. And just add a bit more into that. You get the larger pieces of the sugar you see, right? Plus there's light brown sugar that's in larger crystals. Anyway. That's probably all I'm going to put in it, because as I'm cooking, I can always add more. So I'm probably going to try and cook up the squash within the week anyway. I'm working outside. So not today, obviously, right? So it's not like I can come in and start, cooking up fancy meals. But I want to cook some of this, I don't know what I got. I've got all these things. Some are pumpkin, some are not. You see? I've got them all over the place. Right? So I wanted from my yard. So I want to bake one up. I'm going to use this. Lots of butter. Look how nice that is. Okay. So I'm going to end this video. So the moral of this story is you can make grapeseed extract and not have to worry about buying those gel capsules to be able to swallow that crunchy pill. Right? You know what I'm saying? I've shown you how you can get the seed in you and the skin of the grape. You just maybe not getting them both at the same time. I don't know what all the properties are. I'd have to Google it. If you really want to know, just Google grape extract and the nutrients around it, and you'll find that it has a fair amount. So it was worth my time, right? Feeling pretty good about this. Now these ones here are the seeds, so this one didn't grind up as much. What was I doing? This. Oops. Now I got grape seeds all over my house. This one, I grinded up this one, right? And this is what it didn't sift through. So I'll just run this through the blender and then I'll just pop them into this jar. Alright, first I'll finish that one. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this video as is.